This is Danny Trejo, and you're listening to withoutyourhead.com. Keep listening, or I'll take your head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Toy LEI. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey. So, your newest short, How to Get Caught. And since it's a short, I hate to ask too much of what it's about for people, because it can, kind of give it away.
Yeah,
Spoil
it's
it.
pretty short.
Yeah.
For a short, it's still pretty short.
Yeah. And so it's going to be at Happenstance Horror Fest, which is here in Massachusetts. So how did that come about?
I think it was friends of friends. The horror community is really tight, I've discovered. I actually didn't know anything about the horror community a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got introduced to them through Etheria Film Night. And and also there were a bunch of horror people there, not just filmmakers, but journalists and fans and all that kind of stuff. And wow, I mean, they're super tight. And so it was just kind of word of mouth happenstance. So I, sent them my film, and they seem to like it. So I'm grateful that it's showing.
Yeah. And I know George had told me that they had like hundreds of entries. And so
oh, really? That's
he was
cool.
up against a lot of...
Makes me feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It was that there was 6 and that they picked all 6. So...
Right. God, can people send more stuff in, please? Because we need to fill up this 2-hour slot.
Now, it says inspired by the words of David Henry Hwang. What does that mean? Okay,
so this was actually made for a contest last year. There was there's this big hoopla going on about no diversity of filmmakers in the filmmaking world. Do you know about that? Well, okay.
Yeah.
Basically, the filmmaking world, people in the industry are all in the hoopla because it's just run by old white dudes. Which, if you see my face, I am not that. And I'm Asian, Chinese to be specific, and there is this contest that ran last year about David Henry Hwang would write some words, and you have to use those words as the script. And you had 2 months to make it. Go. Mm-hmm. There you go. And the main emphasis on this was that you had to have a lead who is Asian. You had to have a main filmmaker that was Asian, a main part of the crew that was Asian, and then the rest was a free for all. You can interpret anything. You can interpret however words you want. You could do whatever genre you want. You could do whatever, and just as long as you had the words in their order in strictness. Mm-hmm. But the version you see right now was, I felt like so David had written 4 lines, and I felt like in order to get this piece to coalesce a little bit better, I needed like 5 or 6, so I added a few more. This version that you see here is not the version I submitted to the contest. It's just a tiny bit longer with a couple more lines.
Mm-hmm. So what were the lines?
The first one is don't do that. The second one is of course. And then I have my doubts. And then what is it? Yeah.
How did you do in the contest?
We didn't make the finals.
No.
So they cut it into the finals, and then they picked I think the top 3 and the top 1. We did not make it into the finals. I thought it was because, they just all had poor taste. Just kidding. I don't know. There were, there were some really good movies there. There's some really good films there. It was the script having to just absolutely just do those 4 lines was extremely limiting. It was a nice little challenge. Mm-hmm. clearly, if I felt like I needed to expand upon it a little more, then it was very challenging for me, to get a full story across with just those 4 lines.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've done previous shorts.
Yes, several.
Yeah. Can you tell us some of those?
My first one was called The Wedding.
Mm-hmm.
It was a action comedy. My second one was about a bridezilla. That's pretty obvious. The second one was called Eve. It's still it's a pilot for a TV show, and it's still kind of floating around somewhere. I think the producer ran out of money and couldn't quite get it finished, but we're still trying to get that sorted.
Mm-hmm.
The third one was called My Angel's Home, and I did it as a weekend project just for fun. It's 2 minutes, and it's kind of a horror thriller thing. And then I went on and I did a thing called dude, I can't remember the name. I can see the images. I can't remember the name. Oh my god, that's so horrible. It was a romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And then a thing called Boxer, which did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy drama with a lot of violence.
Mm-hmm.
This one here, which is a Star Wars fan film.
Oh, really?
And yeah, that's also in limbo because it's just taking so long for all the CGI. I mean, I had no idea. I had some idea that it would just be painstakingly tedious.
You weren't going to make practical
lightsabers. Didn't realize it was that horrible. Yeah.
I noticed you do have really good special effects in How to Get Caught. And
dude, thanks.
You're very welcome. It was really good, and even the gore and stuff's done really well. So, do you do that yourself? The effects?
I did all of it myself. I started doing special effects in Boxer, and it was just like everybody else. I learned off of YouTube, yo.
Mm-hmm.
And are you playing a game back there? Turn that shit off.
Me?
Yeah, I'm only busting your ass. Yeah, that exactly.
I thought you were yelling at someone else. I don't.
No. I learned it off of YouTube, and it was just there were things that needed to get done. You want to do blood spatter, but if you're on a timed contest, you don't have time to actually do it practically.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid you fuck up the shot, and then you have to reset everything and change all the wardrobe, clean off the walls, and blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
It takes like an hour, and then you're just sucking up time.
Mm-hmm.
So blood spatter, bullet holes, bullet sparks, muzzle flash, gun recoil, all that can be done by by CGI pretty nicely, actually. So I just expanded that, and that was in Boxer. Boxer is like kind of a gun thing,
Mm-hmm.
And How to Get Caught. I just went back onto YouTube and found out how to do the all the other things.
Mm-hmm. So what programs do you use for your special effects?
After Effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, when the best dude in the world uses After Effects, you just use After Effects.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he ended up, working. He's this guy. It's called. There's a great site, Video Copilot.
I mean, actually, just mentioned that my webmaster always sends me links to Video Copilot God. To do different videos I make.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is freaking a genius. I don't even know how he knows all this. I mean, I watch these videos and like, how did you even figure this out?
Yeah.
And he was so brilliant at it that J.J. Abrams people found him and gave him a job, and now he's working in Star Wars and Star Trek and da 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 da.
I didn't even realize that. That's pretty awesome.
using After Effects.
Yeah.
Not using anything except After Effects.
Uh huh. Speaking of, what do you think of the new Star Wars movies?
I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. I know people have problems with them, but I love them. You know, I know they're not their departure from the George Lucas films, and I think that's a good thing. Honestly, you know, Star Wars Episode 4 was not meant to be a kiddie movie. It turned out to be a fairy tale, and therefore, you know, you could air quote kiddie movie, young adult movie, but family friendly movie. But it wasn't meant for kids. It was meant to be, you know, an adult fairy tale that just happened to be, you know, capture the imagination of kids as well.
Yeah, there's a difference between a movie that a kid can see and a kiddie movie.
Right, exactly. Right, exactly. And that's exactly the thing. It was a movie that kids could see, and not a kiddie movie. And the problem was that, you know, once he moved into 1, 2, and 3, or the freaking Ewoks, or I don't know, he you know, he was making his money through merchandising, because that's the deal he cut with the studio. So he just making stuff that could be merched out. You know, with the Ewoks, I mean, they are super cute, but do I believe that spears and throwing axes could really defeat an army of stormtroopers? Are supposed to be, if you go back and watch all the origins of stormtroopers, they're supposed to be like genetically modified super soldiers, right?
Yeah.
So really, I guess
I'm right with you with that, because even
I mean, those Ewoks must be amazing warriors. I would hate to meet them in the ring.
Yeah. Even as a kid, I love Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. I like Return of the Jedi, but it's definitely a drop in quality, and it's mostly because of the kiddie aspects of the Ewoks. There's also some good stuff in it, but it's the lesser of the three.
Right. Right, and then you hit 1, 2, and 3, which, you know, of course you want to know the origin story of Darth Vader, but it was like all of a sudden, like, George Lucas puked out like his visual, like said, yeah, let's use every color in the color palette, and I'm like, no, you don't have to do that, you know, and you don't have to, and you clearly didn't spend enough time with your actors, because you're making Academy Award winning actors act like wooden stumps. You know, that I couldn't stand. Once that happened, it was just, you know, I had a problem with it. And then you get the grown-up, you know, Anakin Skywalker. It was just like, oh man, it's torture to watch him.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, when I watch movies, because I'm an actor, when I watch movies, it's really, like, once the acting goes off rails, it's really hard for me to watch the rest of the movie and to even comment on the rest of the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Episode 7 did a lot better job in showing, like, the struggle between the light side and the dark side.
Yes.
Than all three of the first three. You know?
Yeah, I know people had a problem with it because it was a departure from the style of Star Wars, but I thought it was a good departure. You know, it's just like, get away from. Let's go back to making movies for adults that kids can watch. Like, if you need to, yes, I understand. You gotta have. There has to be a movie that kids can watch too, but just not make a kiddie movie anymore. Let's grow up a little bit.
Yeah, and Rogue One, I think, is the most adult of all the Star Wars movies. Cause,
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that people have a problem with that because they were like, well, it's a war movie, not a sci-fi fantasy movie. And it's like, it's totally fine. It's a spin-off. It's not meant to be Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why they don't even have the scroll at the beginning, because that's a standalone movie. Yeah.
Right. I mean, their only failing was that they felt like they had to, like, include every single character from the universe in there. You didn't need to put every single character in there for their 3-second cameo just so you could sell tickets. I mean, it was, it was fine.
Yeah.
Without it, but it was quite clever. Really clever, and it was a nice slice of an origin story to an origin story.
Right.
Like the prequel before the prequels.
Yeah. So What is your fan movie about Star Wars about?
See,
I
I'm
did
not gonna
see a
tell
little
you.
bit of it. Hmm?
Why would I tell you that? My movie, I love my fan film.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna tell you the
All
story.
right.
But
Fair
suffice
enough.
it to say, no, just suffice it to say, okay, I'll tell you the technical details of
Okay.
it. So
Okay.
I can get a taste of it. It's a 5-minute film.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 5-minute film with a massive lightsaber fight in the middle.
I did see some lightsaber
Actually,
images
my
on your
real. Oh
Vimeo.
yeah, that's what it's from. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was very, very fortunate because the guy I fight with, I mean, swords are my specialty, So, I mean, every swords person wants to do a lightsaber fight in their lifetime. But I was very fortunate because the guy who I'm fighting with, and you could this is not a spoiler because you could certainly see it on my reel, which is public. Any public person can watch it on Vimeo, but. He's Kevin Hart's stunt double, so he's extremely athletic and just such a great guy, and really just, I made him do all the hard stuff. Super athletic and just up for anything, and just really got it, and was really excited about doing this. So he was co-producer with me on this because he wanted to do it too, and he got his band of rogues over and helped us out with all of the stunts and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So what is your background in martial arts? Like, how long have you been into that?
Yeah, I have been doing it for martial arts about 18 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a wide, broad knowledge of Chinese martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off with traditional kung fu, and then I went to tai chi, the Chen style tai chi, which is a lot harder than the yang style, which is typically what you see in the parks. Mm-hmm. And then I went to wushu just to make it all look pretty for camera. So and now I trick a little bit, but it really depends on. I'm a little injured right now, so I can't trick very much because of my knee. But hopefully when my knee gets better, I'll get back to tricking.
I have no idea what trick is.
No, it's you can look that shit up. It's just called martial arts tricking. You can look it up on YouTube and you'll see. Believe me, I do not do what those pros do. Okay, I'm just very, very basic tricking, But what those pros do, they, those guys, the super pros, they end up being like the Ninja Turtle, the Mutant Ninja. I mean, no joke, they really are the Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're the guys in the suits, in the movies.
Yeah.
Because they can do all those crazy flippity flip things and twists and all that kind of stuff in the air. But it doesn't really translate for me in terms of when I choreo. I like to choreo things a little bit more realistic. Mm-hmm. It's pretty and it's great for, maybe all that stuff for superhero stuff and fantasy stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and that kind of, stuff that involving humans, not non-humans, like super terrestrial kind of beings. But humans tend to not actually flip around when they're fighting. Cause and I don't know if you noticed this, but actually there's this, and I don't think I'm giving anything away when I talk about how to get caught, because clearly you'll see a fight in there.
Yeah.
There is actually a trick in there, a martial arts trick, which the guy's doing a 360 spin, and I push him out of the air because that's exactly what you would do in real life. It looks great.
Yeah.
It totally looks like he's a badass, but in real life you just push him out of the air because they're busy spinning and you're busy fighting.
It kind of reminds me of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where the guy's doing all the fancy moves.
That's right, and that's exactly right. Sit there and look flowery and look as pretty as you want, but I'm just going to take the gun and shoot you because it's a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
Sit there and spin in the air and flip all you want, but I'll just push you out of the air because you're just taking too much time jumping around.
So, how important are sound effects when you're doing the action scenes?
Oh, absolutely. They're everything. Because we're not really hitting each other.
Right.
So it's just like air, so there's no sound except us grunting and groaning and, while we're while we're pretending that we're fighting and trying to look tough, but there is no sound when we're fighting. So if you actually watch it, unless you have if you have the practiced eye of an editor, you can see the hits and you can see whether or not they're powerful or not. But without the sound effects, it doesn't. A layman would just be like, oh, that's ain't nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've seen movies or shorts where the sound effects are lacking, and it totally takes you out of it.
Yeah, it's everything. It's not just, but it's not just fights, Neil.
Mm-hmm.
It's every film.
No, I brought it up, and even like because it's primarily a horror show here, but in gore scenes and stuff, if there's some kind of gross kind of sound, it really adds a lot to the
squishing sounds and the you're just, everyone's like, ugh, or I watched The Stylist last year, which was great. I don't know if you've seen The Stylist.
I haven't, but I know the director.
Well, the main disgusting scene is they're peeling off the skin of somebody, and it's the sound. It's nothing. The ripping of the scalping of the skin. You're just like, oh, stop. It's kind of like, it's kind of like fingers on a chalkboard. You're like, stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the visual on top of it, and you're just like, no, this is not happening. And it's great. And it's great. So that's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily the fight itself, but it's the whole film. The whole film has to have to sound. I mean, if you don't have the creepy, scary music, it doesn't feel as creepy and scary as you're, walking to, as this. You're hiding in the corner, and the door is slowly opening. You know, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't kind of put you on edge. So it's not, and then there are times when there's dialogue bad. Like, if you can't hear what they're saying, what's the point of watching the movie? You don't get the whole story of the movie, right?
Can't hear what they say. Because I do think sometimes it's something that's overlooked on the independent level. Is sound effects.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I think I know the theory. I think I have a theory on that. Everyone keeps talking about film as a visual medium, and I say that is not true. I can sit there and watch films with the sound off and tell you what the story is, but I can listen to a film without watching it and feel affected emotionally. Like, if I watch it without the sound, I just know the story and I don't feel affected emotionally.
Right.
But if I just listen to it, which happens all the time because my TV's in the other room and I just have the sound on, and I'm over in the kitchen, and I just hear it. I can feel the emotion of the film. So to me, I feel like, it has to be visual, otherwise it's not film. Otherwise it's NPR. But without the sound, I mean, there's no emotion. It's just a bunch of visuals going past your head.
Would you like to explore more of the world in How to Get Caught? Like, do more?
Oh, dude, it's already been done, yo.
Oh, okay.
It's already been done. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
More shorts, or would you like to eventually do I assume you'd like to eventually do a feature.
No, it's a series.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
It's actually a Game of Thrones replacement type series.
Well, that's good.
Like, I'm aiming for it to be on that level. Like, that's the kind of crowd that would watch this series if I execute it as well as Game of Thrones.
Setting your standards high, but I like that.
Neil, you have no idea. I walk around Hollywood saying that I am going to be directing Star Wars. Because I think I already know I can direct Star Wars. Like one of the episodes. if they decide to do, I think they're finishing up 8 now, and I think they've already tapped into 9 for a director. But if they do decide to do more episodes,
I'm sure they will. They're doing
yeah.
very well.
I mean, it's they paid a lot of money for the IP, so they're just gonna try to suck it dry. But yeah, I mean, I want to be tapped for, not I want to, but I know I can do it. I mean, I know I can do it today. I know I can make Star Wars number 9 today if they asked me. Like, it's within my skill set.
So, I assume you're looking forward to episode 8.
I am, of course. I mean, I am a Star Wars fan, no doubt. And it's kind of like James Bond. Regardless of who the James is, regardless of who the director is, I'll always watch it, right? In the theater, the first weekend,
There's something special about seeing it. I was sad when I see people saying, like, if I'm going to the movie on Facebook and they say, why didn't you just watch it for a couple reasons. First, like, I don't want to go download a movie. That's I don't want to pirate a movie, but there's not it's not the same as watching a movie.
No, it's not the same. These big budget films are made for the big screen, and a perfect example of this is Wonder Woman. I went to go see Wonder Woman on Friday night, the opening night, and I liked it very much. So much so that I went to go see it on Sunday night. But this time I went to go see it in the 3D IMAX, and it was so much better. I mean, really, it was much better. There were things that bothered me. In general, I thought don't get me wrong. In general, I loved Wonder Woman. It was one of the best superhero movies out there. But there were just technical things. As someone who's a director and who loves making action films, there were definitely a couple of technical issues I had with it. But then when I saw it on 3D IMAX, all of a sudden they went away. Those technical issues just kind of went away. So clearly, when they were making the film and and just tidying it up and polishing it up, they were watching it in a giant theater. Because if they had seen these technical issues on the smaller screen, now don't get me wrong, that first night that I saw it, it was on a fairly large screen. It wasn't in one of those tiny cut up little cinemas. I would never go to that, but it was one of those fairly large screens, but still it wasn't big enough. And when I went to the 3D IMAX thing, oh man, that thing was dope. That thing was awesome.
I've not seen it yet, but
all right, I'm gonna hang up on you now. I'm just kidding you. You should. I mean,
I would like to see it. I'd like to see it.
And go see it in 3D IMAX because it really is worth it.
Yeah.
That is one of those things where it is not just, okay, it's just, what makes this movie, why do we need this movie in 3D? It actually really does look better in 3D IMAX.
No, I like to see movies in 3D or in IMAX, and like I said, the big screen, it's a totally different experience. How it's meant to be seen. Last time I was in LA, we went to see the premiere of the new Mad Max movie, and it was in
Fury Road.
Yeah, it's no longer the Man's Chinese Theater, whatever it's called now. And it was that was wild to see, on the big screen.
Yeah, that's a nice screen.
Yeah.
That's a nice screen. Yeah.
Exactly. And back to you said that you wanted that you could direct the new Star Wars. If someone was listening, which I'm sure they are, from Star Wars movies, how would you pitch that? Like, why do you think you would be, good at making this new Star Wars?
First of all, I understand the characters innately. If you look, and if I would make these characters. If the reason why you love Wonder Woman was because of the characters, which you do, you love Wonder Woman. You walk out. There's that great viral there's that great viral review of Wonder Woman. You should look it up, Neil.
Mhm.
This black guy he calls himself 246 pounds, six foot even, and 246 pounds. And he goes, for 89% of the movie, I wanted to be Wonder Woman. I don't know. I've never had a question about
I
myself,
have
but
seen
I
that,
wanted
actually,
to be Wonder Woman.
yeah.
And and that's when the magic happens. That is magic right
Mhm.
there. Those are the kind of characters that I create. That's what happens in How to Get Caught. There's me, and then there's the other people, and then there's the one other character, and you're just like, what is going on? And you just really want to know more about what is going on with me and this other character. You know what other character I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
All right. I don't want to give it away
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
Yeah. But and that's what I'm talking about. That relationship. I want, if you're gonna have Obi-Wan, or I don't know who the future characters are, but but I want people walking out feeling like, oh my God, I want to be Darth Vader. I want to know. I want to sit down and have dinner with Darth Vader. I want to sit down and have dinner with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I want to sit down and have dinner with Rey and know what all she's all about. You know what I mean? And those are the kind of characters that I can create, and that's what sells. That's what makes people want to go back more and more. And besides the fact that I put on a kick-ass lightsaber fight. I can do lightsaber fights like a badass motherfucker, and it wouldn't look like the one that would look nothing like the one that they had in episode 7, which was just a giant disappointment. But it would be epic, going back to. I mean, I think I think pretty much episode 8 I'm guessing would be, Luke training Rey as a Jedi, because now she's found him now, so he's gonna tell her stories, and he's gonna train her, and I'm excited to see that. But man, I would pull together a fantastic lightsaber fight, with blasters, of course, if the scene called for it. But yeah, those would be really great. So that's why I would make people want to love these characters, even the evil ones. Love them because of their evilness and their flawedness, and love them because they're heroes and villains, and love them because, you just want to be them. You just want to be Rey. You want to be Luke, the older Luke Skywalker. You want to be, what's his face, Adam Driver's character. That's what and I'm good at that because I'm good with actors. I can pull that out. I can pull that out of a story. It's such a technical answer, knowing nothing about like what episode 8 is about, because I don't like reading spoilers or anything. I just
agree. Yeah. If you could go into a movie without any really knowledge about it all, I think you can enjoy it the most.
Yeah, because there's no preconceptions, and then there's no hype, and then you just you enjoy it. You see it for what it is through your eyes, without the filter of someone else putting a filter over it for you.
It's hard to do, especially when.
Oh, absolutely, with these huge things,
Yeah. And especially even just if you watch the trailer, a lot of trailers give away the whole movie in the trailer.
Yeah.
So back to How to Get Caught. Maybe you can't answer this. If you can, I'll edit it out here. Who or what is Rain the Grey?
Okay, if I say this, it's a giant spoiler. All right. Well, I'll leave it to you,
All right.
Neil.
I'll mark the time here down.
To choose whether or not you want to say this or not say this.
Okay.
I'll keep this in the. So, Rain the Grey turns out to be the Shadow Master. So the whole thing is like, the red herring is that I'm the leader, and it's not really me. It's Rain the Grey who's the leader, the master, and doing all the commands. And that leads into the whole episodic of the series. who Rain is and why is Rain the leader and why is this tiny little thing a leader. You know what I mean? That you don't expect, you know. I was very fortunate to have a bird that actually had a personality on set and could actually laugh on command, you know?
That's pretty, yeah.
Huh?
I was actually going to ask about the bird because the old cliche is never to work with animals or kids, but I was wondering what it was like to work with the bird. But you're answering it.
Yeah, well, Rain was actually my bird. I trained her.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So I knew it. So Rain. That's actually Rain laughing is actually her hearing me laugh and trying to follow my calls. That to her, she doesn't know that a laugh is what it signifies, other than it signifies when I'm, in a happy mood. You know what I mean? And so she would make that sound when she was in a happy mood. You know what I mean? But it's not an exact replica of my laugh because it sounds the way you heard it. And I kid you not, the first time I heard her laughing, I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that in a movie one day. And that's how that happened. Because that laugh is so distinctive and so, you're just like, oh, that's creepy. So yeah, so whenever I have animals, I always train them for set anyway. I'm constantly shooting them to get them used to the cameras and to get them used to constantly putting them around. Actually, Rain is in my Star Wars fan film.
Oh, very cool.
Rain is also in my my TV pilot that's kind of in limbo. So Rain's in a lot of things. I put her in that situation a lot where there's a lot of people around, a lot of noise around, a lot of things moving around, a lot of cameras in your face, and and this time she was ready to actually have a camera on her full time, because it takes time, especially for birds, to be able to have a lens that close into their face, without them trying to attack the cameraman or the camera. I mean, you should see some of my, my training cameras. They're like, the lenses are ripped off and stuff like that. There's tiny little cameras, the ones that they used to sell, they don't sell anymore, before they had cameras and phones. Yeah, they ripped off the lenses of my camera because they're scared of it. So you have to train them. You have to train them to work with lights. I mean, that whole thing is shot at night, So, there's unnatural lighting there. And so she was finally able. I got her to a place where she was finally able to actually, kind of be the lead character, because she is the lead character.
You let's see, writer, director, choreographer, let's see, lightsaber expert, animal trainer. You did all these things, but not be silly. But is it important to be able to do all the different aspects when you're making independent shorts or movies?
No, I'm just a control freak.
Fair enough.
No, that is not true. I actually am a much less control freak. But the thing is like let's talk about this. Being a good actor requires skill. Being a good director requires skill. Let's get deeper into this. Being a good stunt person requires skill. Being a good choreographer requires skill. Being if any one of these falls apart, your movie falls apart, right? So you might say, okay, well, in the case of Rain, you're the animal handler, you're the trainer of her, but it took 7 years for me to get to that point. You know what I mean? It wasn't like oh, I trained her in 2 weeks. I'm a magician. I am not a magician. It took me 7 years to get her to that point where she could play that role.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It took me, and honestly, Neil, if I could have other people do this or have another animal on set and have someone else handle the animal, I would. But when you're doing independent film, like, budget is limited. Your resources are extremely limited.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, so the answer is, well, should I have this amount of budget? Am I going to spend it on an animal handler, or am I going to spend it on a really great lighting package? Well, since I know how to handle my animal because I've had her for 7 years, I'll spend it on the lighting package. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, when I make movies, I try to make movies where there are things that I can fill in the holes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not going to make a movie about, I don't know, plumbing. You know, like extreme plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being stupid now. I'm just trying to think of something I know nothing about.
Uh-huh.
I don't know anything about plumbing.
I'm really
I'm not going to make a
that
movie about extreme plumbing and how, you know, independently, right? Because I don't have, if you know, the water would, if I had to sit there and do things with water,
Mm-hmm.
and I would need to call in a water expert or something like that. You know, if I had money, sure, I would love to do a film about, or maybe not love, but, you know, if the script was intriguing, I would certainly do something about extreme plumbing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and bring in a water expert to tell me how to actually get the water to look beautiful, you know, as it's rushing through this extreme plumbing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when I make independent films, which have no money and no budget and half of this shit is guerrilla, then I'm going to err on the side of me and what I can do to fill in the holes.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, definitely. It makes total sense.
Right. So right now I have a dog. I am not going to make a dog film. Maybe in 7 years I'll make a dog film.
Uh-huh.
But right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can't actually hire a dog right now because I don't have the money to hire a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And the handler.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be another 7 years before I do another animal film. Another film with an animal in it.
Mm-hmm.
Independently.
Right.
The key word here is independently.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that makes sense.
That makes total sense, of course. And when you have your movies out on the festivals, now I know you can't be in happenstances across the country, but at the ones you're at, what is it like to watch your work with an audience?
Oh my God, it's a giant thrill. I mean, I'll tell you, even if I'm not there, it's a thrill. Mm-hmm. Like, you better believe I'm gonna call George up on Wednesday morning and ask him how it was. You know what I mean? I had both How to Get Caught and my other film, Boxer, show this past weekend also, and I sent them an email. I said, "Hey, how was the screening?" It's because this was in Pennsylvania, and Boxer showed the week before in Korea. So yeah, I mean, because especially far away. I mean, LA life and LA culture, honestly, is such a bubble.
Right.
I'm a realist. I'm from the East Coast. I'm a New Yorker where we have all different kinds of culture, right? But I'm getting settled into this bubble here, and don't get me wrong, I love my life, but it is a little bubble, and I'm very happy here. But I do know that when it plays in Pennsylvania in a more rural area, it's like it's those people, they have their own culture, and I would love to know how they're thinking about this. When they see these films, how they're thinking about it. I would love to know how Haverhill, Massachusetts thinks about it. I mean, I went to school on the East Coast in Boston, and I have an idea, but it wasn't in Haverhill. uh, and I would absolutely love to know how the South Koreans think about what they thought about my films, about my film. I mean, that's such an honor that someone of a different language would actually take the time and watch your film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it requires more effort on their part to watch it because they don't if they don't speak English.
So, well, I'll be there and I'll be recording interviews.
Neal, will you
and
tell
stuff,
me how?
Yeah,
Tell me. Well, you've seen the movie already, so
yeah, but it's different what I think of it and what other people will think of it there. So, I'll try to see. So I'll see what other people thought of your movie while I'm there.
Awesome. Yeah, you can. Afterwards, you can tell them the whole stuff about Rain.
Yeah,
she is a twist. It's like kind of you're talking about her, but she is the twist. But yeah, I mean, I would love to know. Love to know.
Yeah. So when I was looking at your Vimeo page, I also found The Roommates, which was your pitch for the Clive Barker project. Did you hear anything back when you sent that in?
Failed. I had a miserable spring. It's like things were epically failing all spring. We did not get there. What they did was they did a top 10, and we did not get into the 10. We knew some of the people that were in the 10, which was cool. But I did that in conjunction with Vanita Ozels-Graham, who is a total horror chick. She's so if you watch it, you'll see it.
Yeah.
She's and her genre is horror. My genre is all genres, anything that involves violence. So it could be horror, it could be action, it could be drama, it could be comedy, it could be anything as long as it has violence in it. I'm really happy. But Vanita really focuses on horror. She loves horror, and we get along really, really well. I love that woman. I find her to be extremely inspiring, and unfortunately, we did not get picked, and that's okay. I mean, we're going to continue working on it. We do have this. Vanita actually did write the full feature script for The Roommates, so she has like 3 other features written, and she's getting some play with that. So we're going to see if we can get something made for that. So yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of her. I thought the makeup effects was hilarious.
I like the ballerina. So.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, ballerina's a trip. Loved it. Loved doing that. That was great.
Is there any?
I know. We all laugh at it. I mean, I still have the prosthetic on my counter. I don't know what to do with it, but I don't want to throw it away.
No, I would keep that.
It's so precious. It's fantastic.
Yeah. When you said you still have the prosthetic on, I was hoping you didn't mean like just on, but then you said on. So.
No, it's been lying because the prosthetic is so heavy. There's so much rubber involved. There's so much, there's a lot of rubber in it.
Right.
And so I can't really hang it because it'll rip the eye holes. It'll rip through the thinner parts of the mask. So I can't really hang it, so I just have to leave it on my kitchen counter. And people walking, like, what the hell is that thing? There are little hairs all over it. You're just like, it's so hilarious. It is so hilarious. I mean, the makeup artists were really brilliant and just so great to work. I mean, how you see them in the little promo piece is exactly who they are. They're fantastic, And that's what I love about working in sci-fi and genre and horror and action. It's all these prosthetics and all these things you get to play with. I mean, literally, they're putting it on me, and we're just laughing the whole time. Even in like the heavy dramas like Boxer, when they're putting up all that, all the blood on my face, we're just laughing the whole time. We really are laughing the whole time. And and then we'll do this big serious fight with guns and blood going out of the back of the people's heads, and as soon as we yell cut, we just all start rolling on the ground laughing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a better job, honestly.
Yeah. So, when did you? How old were you, or what? When was it you decided like you wanted to make movies?
That actually to actually be a filmmaker as opposed to an actor.
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking, that only happened like 5 years ago, and it happened out of necessity. It happened because nobody would hire me. I'm a skilled actor. I'm a skilled martial artist, and they would not hire me. The only thing they would bring me in for was Chinese mom, where I always have to speak with accent,
Yeah.
And but it was always the put upon mom, the victim mom, the selfless mom who is, it's the same story, like the young lead ingenue wants to be an artist or a lesbian, and she has a fight with her mother. You know what I mean? That story over and over and over again. I was just like, oh God, please. Or the manicurist, which was just really horrible too.
Yeah.
And that's all I was getting called in for. Now, understand that in the past 5 years, life in Hollywood has really changed with the whole big diversity issue. I'm getting called. It was a combination, I think, between me making my own movies and showing them, look, I don't have to speak with an accent. I can if you want me to, but I don't have to. My characters, there are Asian Americans who are parents who don't speak with an accent,
Right.
And they're also not manicurists. They don't walk around with the Mandarin collars on to soccer games. I don't know what you're thinking. They're in yoga pants just like every other soccer mom. And that combined with so I started making my own films, and that combined with this whole movement of that is still going on. We're still fighting. By we, I mean Asian American actors are still fighting for our voices and our faces to be shown on the screen. And we, stop replacing us with Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Gosling and whoever it is that you want to hire. Stop replacing us with them. Emma Stone. That's not right. I know if you want to do a rewrite of the character, I get it, but Ghost in the Shell was just a nightmare. That is a typically Japanese, in everybody's mind, anybody who's seen that anime, it's like a Japanese story. You know what I mean? And you cast Scarlett Johansson? Wow, that's really horrible, You cast a person who is supposed to be 3/4 Asian and 1/4 white with Emma Stone. That's not cool. Right? Same thing. The new movie. There's another movie out. You cast Doctor Strange, and this is the one that really hurts me right here. You cast Doctor Strange and the Ancient One with someone. I mean, don't get me wrong. Tilda Swinton is a great actress.
Yeah.
But I honestly didn't think she pulled that role off. Now, I might be a little bit bitter about it because that's the role I should have gotten. That's my role. I mean, they should have brought me in to read for it, out of at least curiosity. But Tilda just couldn't even pull off the action scenes. It's like if you're going to have her fight, put her in training or something, make her look better. But even her choices as an actor, and again, I am a fan of Tilda. I think she's incredible. I think she can do so many amazing things, like in Snowpiercer. She was great in Snowpiercer.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, I mean, just so weirdly creepy without being creepy, you know, without trying to be creepy, you know? And, but did not pull off the Ancient One, I thought, in Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
And all of their weird little excuses for hiring her as opposed to actually spending, you know, I get it. You don't want to hire me because I'm not a name enough. Go hire Michelle Yeoh then. How about that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Go hire Michelle because she would have been perfect for that role. You know who Michelle Yeoh is, right?
I do not, actually.
Oh my God, you're killing me, Neil. You're killing me.
I was trying to type it in here.
She's in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh, okay. All right.
And she was the Bond girl, and now she's in the new Star Trek as the captain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can watch the new Star Trek trailers.
Yeah, that looks. Watch a trailer from that. It looks very good. I'm not good with names.
So. Oh, okay. All right. What's my name? I'm just kidding. So yeah, I mean, I get it. You don't want to bring me in. You don't want to, you know, take a chance on me on a tentpole. You know, I get it. But then go hire Michelle Yeoh because she's a name. She's a global name.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She actually has more of a name than Tilda.
Yeah.
Especially for that kind of film.
For that kind of just listening to you talk there, as someone who doesn't can't necessarily relate to what you're saying, you know what I'm saying? But like what you're saying was like when you go out for roles and you normally were playing the manicurist or someone doesn't quite speak English and all these things. So it was like we'll hire an Asian actress for this type of role, but when it's something important, we'll rewrite it for, you know, the white person.
I mean, it's killing us. Mm-hmm. I mean, our little group here of Asian American actors, you know, in the major hubs from LA to New York is very, very small. We know each other. We're all connected on Facebook, you know, and it just kills us every time. And it happens, and it's still happening today. Mm-hmm. You know, there's another movie they announced. They had a white guy play a Samoan. I'm like, God damn it, you know? Yeah. Like, you haven't figured this out yet? You haven't figured this out yet? Mm-hmm. And stop putting me as, you know, and I do have to say, you know, there are tons of offices that are getting better. I mean, when I mean offices, casting offices, tons of people that are getting better, but tons of people who are not getting better. They're like stuck in their little safety net, you know. I can't tell you how many times I'll watch a film. And I already mentioned this film, but I don't want to say it again because I don't feel like it's horrible to slander it because it's such a great film. But was there an single Asian face in that one? Actually, there were in the background as background players. Mm-hmm. And you barely notice them. Mm-hmm. You know? Although I will say that the first person to get killed in that film was Asian. Oh, actually, the second person because I know her. Because I know her. Uh-huh. You know, she's hanging from the rope.
Yeah.
She's actually Asian. You can't tell, but I know who that is, and she's Asian.
Yeah.
But there was no one else in that film that had had even, you know, 1-2 seconds FaceTime that was Asian. Mm-hmm. You know. There are black people in there and white people in there. No Latinos, no others. Mm-hmm. So you know, yeah, it kills me. It makes my heart hurt a little bit for sure. Especially that I know several. Now, you know, our pool of, just like any other pool of actors, there's always the bell curve, you know, like there's the 20% who are just terrible and should get out of the business. And then most of the people lie between 20 and 80, and they're somewhere between, you know, below and above average. And then there's like the phenomenal, you know, motherfuckers that inspire you to just continue on with this, and they're in the top 10% or whatever. And, you know, regardless of what race you are, gender you are, age you are, that bell curve applies, in my opinion, to every demographic you would try to slice through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you apply it to the Asian American demographic, we have that as well. But and because we still don't have a lot of role models that that other races or genders or whatever have, about like, oh man, I want to be Ryan Gosling, oh man, I want to be Sylvester Stallone, oh man, I want to be yada yada yada. We still don't have a lot of entry into this profession, so our numbers in terms of how many that are actually in our pool are much less to begin with, and then you cut it down into this bell curve of 10% of the actors that could actually carry a lead role. It's pretty slim, but they're there. And yeah, maybe you need to do a little bit more work, but they're there. And therefore just do a little bit more work. And open your sights a little bit, And meanwhile, let the rest of the people on the belt, on the 90%, start getting their experience and start grooming them for the next generation of films. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because they've been doing that for the other demographics this whole time.
So when you started to make your own stuff here, and you're on the independent level, do you run into the same thing, or do you think it's different on the independent level?
No, it's much different. I work on a lot of independent projects, and it's not just mine. I have a film. It's not my film. There's a film that's coming out that I'm in it, and they were doing colorblind casting, and it was great. I got cast as a military cop. Fantastic. I love that. I was like, give me the biggest gun. And they're looking at me like, you are so weird. I'm like, I want the biggest gun as part of my costume. I was also, when I do several graduate film school, graduate student film schools, because I believe in nurturing, also, giving back and nurturing to these film school students on a higher level who are really wanting to do this for life. That's why they're in grad school for it. And I donate my time acting wise. But they're always, I go in on a lot of those because they're just like, we just want a great actor. We don't necessarily care what race or gender you are, depending on the character. You know what I mean? Sometimes they do need, if it's a Chinese language film, they do need someone who's Chinese, and I get that, to play the Chinese mom who doesn't speak English. Got it. Okay. Got to be Chinese. Okay. But as far as the English speaking and specifically the American accents, English speaking roles, they don't really care. They're just like, we just want the best actor, and that's the way it should be. I don't know why that hasn't carried over again. Hasn't carried over in network TV, which is better, but it is quickly carrying across the Netflix TV. You know what I mean? And slow and feature films. I mean, Sense8, fantastic. Gotta love Sense8. Would you watch Sense8?
I do not, but I will take notes here. What is Sense8?
Neal. Oh my God, so great. Sense8 is one of my favorites. Sense8 is one of my favorites, and and part of it is because it's so, oh my God, it's so daring. It's by the Wachowski brothers. I'm sorry, Wachowski siblings. It's by them, and it had this it had this huge cult following, and unfortunately, we just found out like last week that Netflix canceled it. But it had this huge cult following because the people who loved it they're open with their sexuality. They're open with sex. Sex is not a bad word, in that series. They're open with people from all over the world, their cultures. They shot it properly. They didn't diminish any other culture. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, they shot in Mexico. They had segments in Mexico, and they never put down the Mexican people as just, these lowly immigrants who are trying to get to America. Do you know what I mean? They weren't drug dealers or gangbangers or kidnappers, but they were normal people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they showed a part of life, of Mexican life, that was just normal, slice of Mexican life. Do you know what I mean? And they had Indian, like dots, not feathers. Indian, my Indian friends, that's how they say it. We're dots, not feathers. The Indians who, a slice of Indian culture and how that culture works. You know what I mean? Without, Indians are still very, very big into arranged marriages. And they never put it down. They had a thing with arranged marriage, plot with an arranged marriage, and they never judged it, and they never looked down on it. They just showed it. That's their life, and this is how they deal with it. And that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I mean, that's fantastic. And it got canceled.
That's too bad. It was I see yours was on 3 seasons. I will check that out. I actually have not heard of it before.
Oh man,
I might live
fantastic.
in my own little bubble, so.
And then Legion is also another one of my favorites, just because it's so freaky and brilliant. But I wish they would have more Asians on that show. I'm trying to track down the casting office and see if they'll bring me in on something,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another brilliant show. Brilliant. I mean, nothing else like it on TV.
I've not seen it either. I almost didn't want to say that, but
Okay, Neil, what do you watch? Modern Family?
No, I don't watch it.
I love Modern Family.
What do I watch? Let's see here. What's the new? I'm trying to think. You're putting me on the spot.
Schmidt.
Huh?
The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
I don't know what that is.
I'm just busting you, man.
I watch a new Twin Peaks.
Couldn't get through that.
Really? Which one? The original series or
the new one? I mean, I certainly watched the original when back in the day when it was on TV, and it melted my mind. But the new one was just a little bit too much of a slow burn for me.
I really liked the first 2 episodes. 3 was a little out there, and I got to catch up on the rest of them. But I was enjoying it. I just saw the series for the first time last year, the original series.
Oh, you mean the old one?
Yeah.
The original. The original. That whole first season is so brilliant.
Yes.
It's so great. Like I said, it melted my mind. Episode 3 on that one I remember is particularly fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it was. Last year I was really sick. I was in the hospital and I was in rehab, and then back in the hospital for 3 months. And my friend Annabelle, who's normally on the show with me, she's on hiatus right now. She'd come and visit me when I was in rehab, and she always was a fan of the show. And she's like, "You should watch this." And since I had a lot of time, since I was in there for quite a while, we watched the first episode together, and I was like, "Oh my god, this!" So I ended up watching the whole series while I was in rehab.
Oh, good. Yeah. That is definitely a must see. That's I think the precursor to what Netflix is now in terms of content and exciting content. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a great show. And cheap plug for the site. We're gonna have some guests coming up from the original series, and there are some new series. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They can't talk about the new series, but we can talk about the old series, so that's fine.
Right. Well, that's awesome. That's exciting. That's really fun.
Yeah. So, what got you into movies at all? Like growing up, what were like TV shows or movies that you watched that you made you want to become an actor?
I grew up in New York to immigrant parents, and they didn't really. At the time, didn't speak a lot of English. So we went to Chinatown a lot to get groceries, and then we'd always stop in and watch the kung fu movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm as violent as I am. And it was great. I wouldn't give up my my movie watching habits from childhood for anything, because that's what my first exposure to visual content was kung fu movies.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually start watching American content until I was, I think, in maybe kindergarten, and started watching Sesame Street.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up speaking Chinese until 5, and then I had to like speak English to go to school.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, and that was all learned from Sesame Street, and but you know, I grew up watching kung fu movies. That's what I remember. I mean, Sesame Street was fun, but what I really remember were the kung fu movies.
Does any particular ones stand out to you? I'm not gonna probably know a lot of them, but do it.
Yeah, I'll try to tell you the famous ones. The famous ones, you know, was like the One-Armed Swordsman. You know, again, I think this is where I got my thing for being a swordswoman. You know, like we watched the One-Armed Swordsman, and we watched these other, you know, period kung fu films where they're all fighting with swords, and the chicks are fighting with swords, and I'm just like, I want to fight with a sword. You know, there was how it worked in Hong Kong was basically you got signed to the Shaw Brothers Studios, and they would just slave drive you as an actor. You would just be on set all day long. So they would just make movie after movie after movie with you in it. It really wasn't about, you know, star power at first. It was just like, you know, you're super cute or super handsome and you can move your feet, and we'll just put you in this movie and you just kung fu fight all day long. You know what I mean? And that's your job. They're 365, 24/7. So there was one particular actress that I followed, and she, you know, again, she was part of the actor mill that they had there, and so she made hundreds of movies of all kung fu movies. She never made the romantic dramas or the romantic comedy. She just always was in the kung fu movies, and you know, she was my hero, and she was my role model, and it was really, and I just you know, her name her name is Jialing, but you spell it CHIA space LING, and she is on IMDb, and you can Google her and she'll show up. But all those movies are movies that never actually made it to you know, the Saturday afternoon network, American network TV. Those were only movies that you could see in the Chinatown movie theaters. I don't even remember their names, but I do remember scenes. That's what's crazy. And now they even did a documentary with her in it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that movie. You know what I mean? But I still don't remember the names because actually I don't remember the English names. I never really learned the English names. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Having said that, I don't remember the Chinese names either. But yeah. But you know, she was my hero, and that's who I wanted to be growing up. You know, it was very difficult for me to make the transition into American content, American media in the beginning, because I didn't understand. I'm like, well, where's the roles that you would normally give for a person like Jialing? And they'll be like, who's Jialing? And I'm like, you know, they wouldn't know, and they're like, and then they wouldn't. And even worse would be like, I don't know any roles like that. Do you know? You know, like, what are you talking about? You're supposed to be the scared girl that the hero comes to save. And I'm like, I don't need a hero to save me. I just want to
Right.
save myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I took a break from acting because it was really uninspiring for me to work in America. Like, I didn't want to do any of the roles. I had an agent and everything. I was just like, fuck that. I don't do that. I don't do this. I don't want to do that. It's like, oh, you want me to just sit in the corner and scream? Why would I do that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's not fun. And then when, Xena Warrior Princess and Buffy came on, things started changing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got back into it because I realized it was possible now. The disconnect, there's a disconnect. Like, I didn't, I was watching two different types of movies. I didn't realize one it was culturally different. You know what I mean? And then finally, when Buffy and Xena went on TV, I was like, oh, that's what was going on. Okay, so the Americans are finally catching up. Okay, now I can do American movies. Now I can do American content. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now I can consider doing American. It took a few more years before I actually committed myself to it.
Mm-hmm. From what you're saying there, like if you have grown up without those kung fu movies with the
where would I be? I think I would be lost.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. I would totally be lost. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. No, really.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, it would have never have occurred to me to step into a kung fu school.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yet kung fu is everything to me today.
Mm-hmm.
It would have never occurred to me to have wanted to do a lightsaber fight.
Mm-hmm.
And, because it would have never occurred to me to pick up a sword and learn how to use it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah, where would I be today? I don't know, Neil, dead maybe? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine my life right now without martial arts in it. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine it. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine my life right now without doing action films. Mm-hmm. I was very miserable in Hollywood for the first, up until 5 years ago when I started making my own action films. I was very miserable. I mean, really, how many more times can you call me in for manicures? How many more times can you call me for the put-upon victim Chinese mom that doesn't speak English? I don't want to do that anymore. I was very miserable. Mm-hmm. And that was not the reason why I came here. I came here to do Battlestar Galactica. I didn't come here to be the Chinese mom manicurist. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was miserable. And it wasn't until 5 years ago that I started loving my life here, because all of a sudden now I'm making action movies, and now I'm all this training that I've done just because I love it can be put to use. And now it's like I don't have enough time in the day to I don't have enough time in the day to sleep or put down a script, because people are wanting to work with me in the action arena, and it's just fantastic. I mean, it's really exciting. Yeah. I mean, for me,
Yeah, of course. We mentioned your Vimeo page a few times. We should. What's the how do they find that?
Oh, Play with Toy. I am Play with Toy everywhere. You want to find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Vimeo. I just make it easy. It's all Play with Toy.
Yeah. This came up in an interview I did earlier this week. I think that's smart for, and it seems like it would be something that would be common sense. But for people out there who are starting out, or whatever, use the same name on everything. It makes you much easier to find.
Well, I'll tell you what, even on a technical side, it makes sense, because when you cross-post, because you can cross-post from Instagram over to Twitter and all that, and vice versa, and Facebook and everything, you cross-post it. Mm-hmm. It actually translates easier that way. So now your @Play with Toy actually translates into something that actually works on Twitter. If I post, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I post it on Instagram.
Yeah, or the hashtag, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually works.
Right.
Not, as opposed to you click on your original postings on Instagram and then you click it on Twitter and it's like it's a dead link. All right, great, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it seems like kind of a common sense thing, but really, doing the show, lots of people have a different name on Instagram and Twitter, and it's hard enough to remember the name at all. But to remember 5 different ones for each person it's too much. So if you have all the same name, it's much easier.
Yes, I think so, and it's easier for me too.
Yeah,
honestly, because I just cannot keep up. Next, there's then you got to do Pinterest, you got to do Snapchat. I was like, oh. How can you keep up? I just use the same name across the board.
Yeah.
Remember 59match.com? Play with toy. There you go.
I'll be going there later. But
okay.
So there's a listener of the show who was always trying to get me to use Snapchat. I download it on my phone, but I don't really understand the point of it. So I think I got rid of it. Yeah.
I don't understand it. Why would you just post something and it goes away after what?
I didn't understand it.
Who cares? And why even post it?
Yeah, I didn't get it. Along those lines, though, it was, I don't want to say 10 years, but it's been a while ago. A listen to the show was like, hey, there's this new thing, Facebook. You guys should you should put it without your head up there. And I was like, whatever. And he's like, well, I'll do it. And if you want to use it, you can or not. But so I thank Andrew Vaughn for doing that.
That's what I'm saying. Now that's a good friend right there.
Yes. And I think someone also made her MySpace, but that,
Yeah, MySpace I think is dead to the world.
Yeah, I don't think I even remember how to log into that.
And someone reminded me of Friendster. Remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
Oh, shit, Friendster. I was like, what? I hadn't heard that in like 4 years. I was like, wow. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. So, How to Get Caught, I really liked it. Not just because you're here. I really enjoyed it a lot.
You're not just saying that to be nice, nice to your guest.
Yeah, I say that a lot on the show, and it's only when I really mean it. I probably shouldn't, because then you could go and listen to the interviews and find out which ones, that I don't really like, because I don't say that. But but no, I really enjoyed it. I liked everything about it. I thought the action looked really good. The like we said, the sound effects, everything worked together, and the special effects were really good for something for anything really, but for a low budget, even for anything though, I thought they looked really good.
Yeah, but the parrot was the best thing about the movie. Come on.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Because it's right. Mm-hmm. The parrot was the best thing about the movie.
Yeah. I have it in my notes.
I think, but that's I'm biased.
Well, I hope you did you give him any kind of bonus for doing a job, or she?
Yeah, the bonus was death. Unfortunately, she got killed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I feel terrible.
Yeah,
now.
she got killed a month later.
Oh.
So by some random animal, by some random dog that, which is crazy, because everyone knew how cool Rain was. I mean, Rain basically stole everybody's heart on set, because you can't usually get that close to parrots or birds. They're really finicky. Number one, they're finicky. Number two, they're really jittery. Not what's the word? Jittery's not the word. That's a little bit too much. It's they do get nervous, and so especially to get around a bird that close on set is it's a little more difficult. Mm-hmm. If you notice, for even in Harry Potter with all the owls, right? Mm-hmm. If you notice, all the birds, and I paid attention because as a bird handler, I was paying attention to the birds. Because and owls are my favorite, by the way. Mm-hmm. Anytime you see a bird on set, and I've seen one on Criminal Minds, I've seen it on clearly Harry Potter or some of the other movies, they just stand there. Mm-hmm. They actually don't move. Like when you see Hedwig, Harry's bird, mm-hmm. he's just standing there. They might get them to circle around, but that actually stand there and actually have a personality. Mm-hmm. It never happens.
Yeah.
And it's because they are not used to being on set with all the lights, all the fake lights, and all these people, and all the noises, and all the cables, and all the crashing around, and this giant lens in front of their face. They're not used to it, and so they just freeze. And it's just so refreshing to see. Now, granted, we are anthropomorphizing Rain's reactions to what we want to believe what her reactions to be. But for her to feel so fluid and natural and just like a living character in the film is very unusual. So in my opinion, yeah, she's the best thing about the film. Again, I'm very biased.
She definitely stood out. Is there do you have a new bird?
No, I have a dog right now. So and I'm slowly training him to be on set. He's already been on set twice now. So I mean, not in an actorly way, but just you introduce them to the environment. You introduce them to all these people that are hanging around, all this equipment that's hanging around, and all this stuff that's lying on the floor. Maybe again in 7 years he might be okay, but I will probably get a new bird. I'm very partial to the grays. That particular breed is called African gray. And it's only because of their speaking ability, because I once had a bird stolen, and I said, never again. I'm going to get a bird that can speak my name and my phone number, so that even if she gets stolen, the thief is going to have to answer the questions of who's that name and what's that number. Have you tried? They're going to have to be guilted into giving them back to me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I like that idea.
So, yeah. So, and if they just get lost, they can come right back. So it's heartbreaking, especially when the animals get stolen. Even it's just crazy that they would get stolen from you. It's one thing for them to die. It's completely another thing for them to be stolen. I mean, I actually have a whole parrot training series on YouTube, so
really
you could see the other see the other birds I've trained. And Cooper is the one that got stolen. So after Cooper got stolen, I was like, that's it. I'm just getting grays because I'm gonna guilt them into returning them to me. But I work with a rescue parrot rescue group. So the time hasn't come yet where they have had another gray that they can give up to me. So. And please understand that if I could just do my little bit of animal awareness
sure.
thing.
I love it.
Parrots birds are a lot of friggin' work. They're more than a dog. They're almost as much as a horse. So unless you are planning on doing all that work, do not get a parrot, right? Because doing parrot rescuing and fostering is much more difficult and placement is much more difficult than dogs and cats, because a lot of people, it's very difficult to find foster homes for birds. There are very few of them. So that's my thing about getting birds. I know they look cool and they look great and whatever, and unfortunately, if you see Rain's personality, you're like, I want her, Right. But Rain and all my birds were everyday work. It was everyday work. So please do not get a bird unless you're willing to be absolutely committed to having a 3-year-old child for the rest of your life. Okay, so that's my spiel. Thank you for letting me say that.
That's good. All right, well said. I haven't really had a lot of birds, but I remember being younger and somebody would get an iguana and think it would be a cool pet, and then they wanted to get rid of it, and I'd end up taking it. And I had a lot of cats that way too. People don't want them, and they knew I would always take them. So
Oh, that's awesome, Neil.
Yeah.
You're cool.
Yeah.
I love
I love
that.
cats. I love animals in general.
Yes,
I have
animals are very
I have a
super cool.
3-footed. Is it 3-footed? Is that the way I say it? 3 feet, 3 foot raccoon that comes around my house, and he gets in my garbage, but he never makes a mess. I don't know how he does it. I tried to record him. He opens the top of the can, and he gets in the top of the trash and picks out what he wants, but he never makes a mess. So I don't really mind so much. I would just leave stuff out for him, but I'm afraid other things would come.
Right. So he only has 3 feet?
Yeah, I have a video of him on my Facebook. Yeah, he's got the one paw in the front. I think his front right paw. He doesn't have one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. He's adapted.
Yes. Yeah. He's not my pet, but.
Yeah, no. I
Yeah.
mean, he's like, feral, but he comes and visits and says hi to your garbage.
Yeah, and he's not afraid of me with the camera. So. Between the window, though. I know he's a wild animal. I'm not going to go out and pet him or anything. But.
Oh, of course,
Yeah. But I've many cats and dogs throughout the years, and I did have birds for a little while, but I never had a parrot.
Well, they're pretty awesome as long as you are willing to put the work into it, and it really is like daily work. It's not just like you ignore your cat. I know people who have left their cats for the weekend.
Right.
And the cat's still fine and loves them when they come home.
Yeah.
But that you can't do that with a bird.
Yeah, I had a cat that when I had the bird. This was when I was very young, but I had a cat that would pet my birds. Like he would get up to the cage, and he would put her paw out so that she was double pawed, so it was almost like hands, and she'd put the claws out so they weren't like clawing at it, and the bird would actually after a while would come up to it and it would pet its its chest.
Oh, that's awesome!
It was really awesome. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it never. I'm sure the bird knew it wouldn't attack or else it wouldn't go up to the side of the cage.
Right.
Yeah, it was very cool.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Those are one of those heartwarming animal stories. The videos I watch on Facebook all day long.
Yeah, this was before I had a camera or anything, or else I'm sure there'd be many videos.
It'd be on Facebook right now.
So it was great talking to you.
Well, thank you, Neil, for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I can't wait to hear your report on Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I'll report. I'll have videos. I'll be interviewing. I'll just say everyone there, but anyone who will want to talk to me, and I'll try to get interviews with the crowd there too to see which is their favorite.
Cool. I mean, I'm happy to do a follow-up question thing. Sure. I don't, if there's anything very specific that this interview didn't answer, I'm happy to, do a follow-up.
All right, sounds good. And anytime you got something new coming out, if you're doing more with Ballerina or anything, you're free to come back on.
Ballerina, man, that shit is crazy. Everybody go check that out on Vimeo.com/playwithtoy. You'll see Ballerina. That's just, it really shouldn't be it shouldn't be described verbally. You just need to see it.
Yeah, I don't think we did at all. And I think if you hear you talking about it and and then if you go and see it, it's really gonna make you happy, I think.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna quote you on that shit. That's hilarious.
Is there any Ballerina photos on your Match.com?
Oh, dude, maybe I should. Oh man, I'm sure. I'm terrible at Match.com and that kind of stuff. I have friends who consult with me on that. But if I did that, they would be horrified, I'm sure. Although it would be a good, conversation starter. That's for sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say if they're cool with that, then they must be pretty cool. But then, who knows? That might be their thing, and then it's
it might turn into a giant freak show after that.
Right. Then they meet you and they're like, well, hey, why don't you have
Yeah, where's the rest of you?
Right.
Oh, that's scary. All right, Neil. Well, you're awesome.
Well,
and thank you so much again for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
All right.
Yeah, cool. So, Play with Toy, you can find her everywhere.
Hey, this is Charles Band, and you're listening to withoutyourhead.com.